At this time, we'll be hearing from Director Laura Taylor regarding facilities. We've also added to this direction regarding special events. If you recall, we had enhancements for the 25th anniversary of the city, and so we'll be looking for some direction on that, and that will help with our budgetary planning as well.
Mike, start the clock. She's got 4 minutes. Go.
That's going to be hard. Okay. To start, so as Arlene said, today we're doing special events, city facilities, and we'll give a brief update on information technology. As you know, the downtown Bonita Springs is in an exciting new period of its evolution. It's 8 years after completing ambitious streetscape improvements along Old 41. We're seeing quite a bit of new businesses open in the downtown area. Businesses like Rooftop at Riverside, Chartreuse, Sugar Shack, just to name a few. Along with that, we've also seen an increase in our special event permit growth. Over the last few years, it has steadily been growing since COVID, when things kind of calmed down for the event permitting. These events include both on city property and off. On city property, we have things like Taco Fest, Contempo Dance Club events. We've seen some new food truck events that had happened. And the Sports Challenge America, which is the dog track, has submitted quite a bit of new permits for us as they're hosting more and more events at their venue. Things like the Shrimp and Seafood Festival, the Odyssey Craft Festival, Cirque du Soleil type performances, and we also saw a huge bounce house festival most recently there, which was kind of neat. Some of the new events are at the park are multiple day events like Bonita Springs Historic Society, the beer garden fundraiser that they just recently did. That was multiple days. The Asian Professionals Cultural Festival, and we even hosted our first ukulele festival. So that was new for us. As the mayor can attest, he gets calls just about every weekend for some type of event, and we're communicating. Along with the event growth, we're also looking into the future to see additional green space that will host events at the Bamboo space once Barry and Collier is complete. There will be a public space there that will be working to coordinate for special events as well. And in order to make sure that our event organizers are knowing of all the construction and having the ability to pre-plan for the events, we did send out a letter a couple months ago to coordinate with them about the fact that the Bamboo parking area will no longer be available come June 1st. We did share with them Bonita Springs downtown public parking map that identified areas where they can park instead. We've been working with them to coordinate if they need to do shuttles from other areas during the construction phases of these events. And we created an event toolkit where we have a web page dedicated to on our city website for event organizers to be able to see updates about the Collier development that's happening on the Bamboo lot, the Banyan Tree lot, as well as Riverside Park renovations. So the council tasked us with the last year of doing 25th anniversary items where we did enhancements for special events for a year-long celebration. What came out of that was a new type of event, what I like to call a signature event for the city of Bonita Springs. We started to look at the event as corridor-specific events where we would coordinate with the downtown businesses. We had a larger footprint for these events. And from what we're hearing from the public, there seems to be an appetite for this. You saw the Halloween event where we worked with the local businesses to do projections, and we did uplighting throughout the corridor. And some of the things I just want you to be thinking about during this workshop is, do we want to continue this path forward where we are defining the downtown corridor with these signature events specific to Bonita Springs, or do we want to pull back after the 25th anniversary enhancements and return to the standard format that we have seen previously with the city events? I will tell you, just last week we were promoting the upcoming event for Celebrate Bonita, and one of the comments I got a kick out of it, it was saying, I sure wish Naples did events as good, as beautiful as Bonita Springs does. So we're seeing quite a bit of commentary that way about these events. So for each year, the city really does about 12 to 15 events per year. These events include things like Keep Bonita Beautiful, Celebrate Bonita, Government Days, ribbon cuttings, coastal cleanup, Fiesta Bonita, and it does take quite a bit of people to pull these events off. Obviously, we have great staff that works on this, the council that supports it. We work with our outreach committee, our special event committee, our veterans committee to do these events, as well as our stakeholders in the community.
It's good to see you have work release people helping out too in the corner.
I thought that was a Halloween photo, but that's okay.
All right, so if you just bear with me, now I'm going to show you a couple of short videos of the enhancements for the events that we did. I think that's always helpful as you to know what we're talking about. So this first one is going to be a projection. As we talked about for our Halloween series this year, we did do a Happy Haunts Halloween stroll where we had projections on approximately 7 to 8 buildings in the downtown corridor. It was a first-time event for us. I will tell you that in coordinating this with our contractors that assisted with these events, they tell us that we are challenging them. So that definitely speaks to the uniqueness of the events that we just pulled off for the year. But this one is just an example of a photo for the banyan tree. And he tells jokes. And again, watch this for a second.
What do you call a monster that loves to dance? The boogeyman. He likes to boogie. Oh wait, I got one. Here we go. What's a vampire's favorite kind of dog? A bloodhound. Oh wait, I got it. This one you're gonna like. What does a one-eyed jack-o'-lantern wear? A pumpkin patch.
You didn't write those jokes, did you?
We also did this on also, I'm just going to show you a very brief piece of the actual decor for the Happy Haunts. Again, this was a free event that happened for a week leading up to Halloween. Here you go. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Halloween series and some options we have with that this year. Each year for the last few years, we've done a Halloween in the Park event. It's been very successful. It usually is the weekend prior to Halloween, where we have characters that match whatever movie we're showing. Here you see the Addams Family. We work with the downtown businesses to coordinate with us for a Halloween in the Park stroll where they can do trick-or-treating. And then Chris has booked some amazing amusements like the Lady on the Stilts here you'll see. But this is an event that we can consider pulling back on if that's something that you wish to do to kind of scale back slightly. So the series then would only include the immersive Happy Haunts event, which would be the week leading up, and then it would go into the Downtown Alliance trick-or-treating event. They have been doing that for a few years, and it's very successful as well. And they did indicate to us that they did enjoy the decorations that we've put in place. It enhanced their trick-or-treat as well. So that is one option to consider if we're looking to scale back slightly. Otherwise, it would be the full series moving forward. The next thing I'd like to show you is and talk about is the holiday season. So each year the city does light up the city parks downtown with holiday lighting. This year we added additional enhancements to the park areas for lighting, as well as we added some corridor-specific lighting. So we lit all of the lampposts on either side of Old 41 with garland and lights. We added holiday decor to the medians that lit up, as well as the roundabouts, and we went all the way to 41. And the taller poles we did solar banners on, and that was brand new for us. So here's just a little example of that. So of course those extra decor really sets the tone for our Holiday in the Park event that we do the first Tuesday of every December, where we have Santa, snow in the park, and we coordinate with local schools to perform at that event. And the last signature event that I'm going to showcase to you today is our 4th of July event. And this is certainly one of our signature events for the city of Bonita Springs. We have always done a fireworks show and laser lights. That usually is about an 18 to 20 minute show. We enhanced it this past year with a drone show, so that totaled about 30 minutes. And we do have that planned again this year. We do see people traveling from all over to the event, and then I'll just showcase that quickly here, and then we'll be done with the videos. So the last slide on the events is just about our Celebrate Bonita event, and the signature event is in place here for the immersive stroll that's happening next week. That happens April 9th through the 12th. We have been coordinating with our local downtown businesses. We've talked a lot with Rooftop at Riverside. They have offered to have a band on Thursday night for us. They are promoting the event. They were one of the first businesses that came online to promote the event with us. We've asked them to have specials as well. We talked to Chartreuse. They are going to light up the outside of their building. I know the mayor shared the information at the Downtown Alliance, and we've gotten a lot of responses from that. Sugar Shack also joined us for Friday night, and they will have a band and do specials for Celebrate Bonita. And then we've also, for the immersive stroll, we'll be lighting up the park areas, portions of the bridge, and we will also have art pieces that will be lit and music that'll be occurring nightly. That'll happen from dusk until 10 p.m. That is free for all to come down and enjoy and enjoy the businesses when they're down there. The city will not be having any food or alcohol Wednesday through Friday. That will be all the businesses that we can rely on there. And then Saturday, we will have our traditional Celebrate Bonita. It'll be a free concert with Kylie Morgan. We're working with our local Rotary, as well as a bunch of local schools are participating. They've done art for us to celebrate Bonita Springs. They're going to be displaying like cakes and cupcakes and things that they did in their art classes, as well as performances. And that will conclude the celebrations for Bonita Springs in the corridor. So before I go on, would you like me to take any questions for events or just move into the facilities at this time?
Any direction. I think, of course, this is just a workshop, so I think for budgetary purposes in our planning, which we're already starting now, we just wanted to kind of understand from council some of your direction on how you feel about the enhancements, how you feel about budget-wise, so that we can properly prepare our recommendations.
Laura?
What a phenomenal job the Special Events Committee has done. I tell you, small city with big, bright future, the charm is there and the bright future's there. Don't change it. Keep it going. It was so phenomenal. People just were over the top joyful, and it was really beautiful.
Any other comments?
If I can ask a question.
I think when I go back and look at the historic budget, we took a big jump from just under 300,000 back in 22, 23, and we jumped up to over $700,000 last year. I guess in the spirit of all the variety of the other things we're looking to do to enhance and improve as well as maintain our existing facilities, I think there needs to be some tempering in terms of what we put into this, whether that's a 10, 15, or 20% reduction over where we're at today. I think that needs to be considered for planning for the next budget.
Sure. And Jim, I do want to point out, because this is something I've talked with our finance team about as well, the jump that you're seeing there is because they have included the communications and other cost centers within the special event budget. That is not an accurate number, but I do have the number for you. And I apologize. I was worried that might happen with the combining of those cost centers. But if you look, it does show, we went from the last couple years, we had 2009, 2010, about 230,000. 2017, we decreased to 180. 2018 to 19, 176. 2019 to 20, 178. And then in 2020, 21, we had 214,000. This last year, we did 275,315. So that is the cost center for the special event. So I just want to make sure I point that out.
Yeah, like I said, my biggest concern is we did a big ramp up to our 25th anniversary, and I guess that it truly was a celebration. And I guess that when we look at the projects we're looking at downtown, whether it be lighting for the parking or whether it be the Banyan Tree Park or with a variety of things, there's a lot of ask for money that are investments for the future. And I think we got to be cognizant of that, and we need to go ahead and just, is this the right number, or is there some number slightly below that?
Okay, thank you.
Nigel?
Or I think one of the things maybe we want to consider as a council is prioritizing the events, that some of them we may want to keep the expenditures because of the impact they have on the community. So perhaps that would be a thought, that we look at them event by event. We probably got, what, a total of 7 or 8 that are really impactful.
Sure, yeah, yeah,
Just a thought.
okay,
I'd be up for that.
okay.
Let Jesse go first.
Jesse?
I think, yeah, okay, first of all, our events have gotten so great. We have people from all over Southwest Florida, all over the state, who come here, and they're very excited about each one of these individually. And that's a testament to the staff, but this is not the time to hit the brakes on the events. The differential you're talking is minuscule in comparison to the budget. If we want to find some money for that, we can find money for that, but to scale back, this is one of the only optical things that the city has that people can be like, hey, the city does this good. How many other things do we get credit as a city for even saying we do well?
Mm-hmm.
Not many. But we can make a difference here, like in 2020 when everybody canceled their 4th of July, and we said no, and we did it. And then everybody from around Southwest Florida rallied behind Bonita. And it's kind of been that way ever since. So I don't think there's any reason to go backwards. We are growing as a city. Our downtown is finally getting its stride. So we're moving in the right direction. So for that amount of money, I don't think stepping back is necessarily the right move. Maybe stepping up a little bit more, but I definitely don't think stepping back's the right way to go.
I concur with Jesse, and it also, the businesses downtown who hung in there or who came in after we invested over $33 million for a road. And they took the chance to come in. I say we support them, we go. More and more people are coming, and it only enhances what we offer. And it does highlight that we're family-oriented and positive in terms of patriotism and community. So I would say keep going, and minimum keep it the same. But you guys will always come up with something cool.
Chris, anything?
I think we just have to find the right balance. I think we want to do these events for the benefit of our residents. I think we want to improve our facilities for the benefit of our residents. And I think going forward, we just, take a look and see what the right balance is. I would say give us your best plan, and that you would perhaps be willing to shrink a little bit, and give us some wiggle room to make some decisions about how we best balance it. Sort of like the old teeter-totter, You've got to move the totter to do the teeter, so.
No, and I agree. People do love all the events that we put on down there. I guess the one part, and you had mentioned it, that we could possibly scale back would be the trick-or-treating. Having 2 nights of trick-or-treating is kind of redundant, where if the city can roll it in with what the Downtown Alliance is going to do anyway. But I mean, having the lighting and everything leading up to it is great, and I think everybody enjoys that for all the other holidays too. So, Lori, you had another comment?
I just have one more. We discussed at our last meeting committees, and I'd just like to bring up again the Special Events Committee, which Carissa spent for 2 different events. There was at least 5 different dates thrown out. No quorum was met for either event. And the thing is that the staff at communications, you guys do all the work anyway. So, I don't know, just maybe bring something before council, or maybe just council, because I was available for, I said either or, and or, whatever. But I think that we need to eliminate that board, because we don't get a quorum, and then you just move ahead and do your thing, which is how it should be. But if you can't get a quorum, there's a message that the interest and dedication isn't there, and people don't follow through when they say they're going to do something anyway. So I say leave it in your hands, and that we at least decide that the Special Events Committee is eliminated. or minimize that it's a liaison, maybe two council.
I'll second that.
No, okay, there we go.
Well, it's a workshop,
no,
so
but-
we can't vote on anything here, but I mean, that is gonna be
Well,
part of a bigger
sometimes
discussion.
we can add in a motion.
Not at a workshop, we can't. No voting.
We will later then.
All right, anything else on special events? All right, moving on to facilities.
Oh, can I just mention one more thing? I was at the 10th anniversary of Estero. It was, well, nowhere near ours, but it was cool. I mean, but they had sponsors. They had a real estate family sponsor. They had developers that were sponsors. They had private businesses that were sponsors. Why can we not take sponsors and with, clearly there's no preferential treatment, but why can't we get sponsors that want to do something for the community that they want to see built up?
Absolutely, and we do send out sponsorship packages for every single event. We ask our committee members to assist us with that too. We do get some sponsors.
But you've
Very large sponsors.
also shayed away from others. And I think that we can hit up a bunch, and I don't see the harm in that, including, our park improvements, but that's something down the road, I guess.
I would agree with Laura's comments. I think that, quite honestly, there are some signature events with the 4th of July, Memorial Day, and also Holiday in the Park that get a lot of publicity, a lot of attendance. And I think that if there's the right approach with some of the corporate entities in the area, I think that we can ask for the money that can, to Jesse's and Laura's point in terms of how do we maintain the budget and at the same time, fireworks and other locations get a big chunk of dough for sponsoring. And I just think that we have to go out to ask. And that ask may be to Herc, it may be to Hertz, it may be to City Mattress, it may be to any of the big corporate entities that we have in the boundaries of our city, to put their name tag on it far enough in advance that becomes fireworks sponsored by.
I like it. And that helps subsidize
Exactly.
any tummy aches we have about the cost.
Right.
Nigel?
Thank you, sir. I think absolutely, in fact, we used to have sponsorships or more sponsorships back in the day. What I'd be concerned about is having staff go out as salespeople. It's not their job. I don't think it's appropriate. So I know who is responsible for it, should be responsible for it, and they're all sitting up here on this dais.
I have an idea.
So we'd have to commit to that we would be out there doing the ask. I don't want to see our people out there playing salespeople.
I commit.
I have an idea also.
But I think from our end is they need to provide us a sponsor kit.
Yeah,
Yes.
They have them.
you have them.
If we're gonna ask for $25,000 or $50,000, I'll have to look at it to see if I see what's online and I'm just questioning, so that's okay.
All right. Okay, facilities.
Okay. So just start with facilities. I'm just going to go through a quick timeline of decisions that have been made to date. Starting in June 1st, 2022, City Council authorized city staff to execute a multi-year contract with Weston Sampson for a facility assessment study. The assessment study included 6 city-owned sites comprised of 19 buildings. In April 19th, 2023, council approved an order to account for Hurricane Ian to make sure that we could include any damage to the facilities from the storm. July 19th, Weston and Sampson presented the executive summary to council, and at that time, City Council voted to have staff pursue putting code enforcement and the sheriff's office into the old library building. August 11th, 2023, the Wonder Gardens staff was provided their Wonder Gardens assessment. In October 2023, council approved moving forward with $2.9 million worth of Priority 1 repairs at budget. Priority 1 at the time included critical, immediate repairs that were needed, cited life safety hazards, code compliancy, anything to return a facility to operation. Some work that has been completed in that time is City Hall generator. A new generator was added to City Hall. The existing generator was refurbished and installed at the Recreation Center. The City Hall parking lot improvements, we completed a sewer lateral repair and a parking lot overlay. completed the pocket park in front of City Hall that aligns with the Bonita Beach Road visioning study. The pool house, we did priority 1 items there, which included structural repairs and electrical work. The roof has been replaced. We remediated mold at multiple facilities. The old recreation center, new flooring, new ceiling tiles have been installed. City Hall, the second floor restrooms, we're looking at adding showers, potential to add showers for emergency management staff post-storm. We are also working to get a facility security assessment here at City Hall. We've completed modifications to the elevator per updates to the building code. For the old library, we're replacing failed air conditioning system that is under contract, and the permit was submitted today. Roof repairs are under contract with work to begin next week. The new recreation center, priority 1 repairs are underway. Security assessment at that facility is in progress. We've done some interviews this week, actually. The pole barn at the Wonder Gardens, we anticipate demolition of the pole barn this spring, likely very soon. Initial meetings have taken place and permitting has just been complete. As we go into the facilities portion of this presentation, there's just some questions I would like you to consider. Is it currently in use? Is it end of life? What is the future use? Does the building configuration serve the future use? What is the differential between cost to repair versus cost to replace? This is a slide that we provided you at the last workshop to talk about facilities where the decision was made on use versus decisions that were pending. Obviously, the decision's been made on City Hall, the Sheriff's Substation, the use of the former library, the pole barn, and the new rec center. Some decisions that are still pending is, how are we going to put the future use at the former library? What are we doing with the pool building, the maintenance shed, old rec center, restaurant, welcome center, Lyle's, artist cottages? As far as the former library goes, that is really our most pending question that we're going to need some direction from council on. To repair that, we're looking at these numbers are based off an assessment study that was given to us in 2023, but approximately it would be $5.5 million as the cost to repair, $6.4 million for the cost to replace. We do have our code enforcement officers in that building currently. The future uses identified for code enforcement, emergency response center, and Lee County Sheriff's Office. We have a meeting scheduled with Lee County Sheriff's Office for April 14th to discuss their needs for the future use. We also have already started the temporary repairs that we've talked about, but I do want to remind you that those are temporary in nature and long-term considerations, cost to repair versus replacement, functionality of current layout versus future uses. It is below flood regulations, building facility footprint. Building currently has no fire suppression system. The roof system will need replaced in the next couple years, if not sooner, which should include improving drainage and conveyance of stormwater. That is something that we really need to be discussing the next steps for. The Wonder Gardens, right now the pole barn is being demolished. We are removing a damaged wall within that project. We've done some minor electrical repairs at that facility, and we're coordinating with Wonder Garden staff on which repairs will be pursued as a part of the agreement. We also have the Lyle's Hotel building that is under a DPZ study. There are some various repairs that are needed at that facility still. In the recreation center, we need to replace the HVAC system, including the exposed chiller, water piping, insulation, chiller pumps, air handlers, control system, remove existing ventilation systems and ductwork, provide entirely new systems, including energy recovery ventilator. For the locker room, exhaust and separate dedicated preconditioning outside air conditioning units. This will not be a direct replacement, therefore further engineering and possible architecture will be required to modify existing systems. That building is really the first building we're going to focus on for a major renovation. As we move forward, we should be seeing that sometime in the winter or spring next year. And then last, I'm just going to touch on a couple of information technology projects that we're looking at for the next fiscal year. That would be, we're looking to do some funding in the upcoming budget and requests for proposals in the fall for a new website design. I know we've heard that from various council members. Also, we're considering migrating from on-premise servers to the cloud, as well as continuing cybersecurity training annually. And that concludes that portion of our presentation, but I'll leave it open for discussion.
Laura?
Do you have a price to, instead of the rec center? No, the rec center. So To replace versus repair? Because you said it's in really bad, we've done some temporary repairs.
Sure. So as far as the executive summary of the facility assessment report that we received in 2023, we have for the new rec building, we're looking at the repairs cost would be around approximately 2.1 million. With the upgrade allowance, because there's going to be additional upgrades needed depending on use and security things that we're putting in place, of 2.3. The replacement cost would be approximately around 7.9 million. I'll go back to this slide, it might be helpful too.
Well, does that account for like the swimming area and
No.
you know, just
the facility.
But are we going to tie in, or are we going to be penny wise and dollar foolish in terms of how we're committing our money?
I do think each facility has been considered separately for this assessment report, and I know that you have a park master plan, and Nicole does have some, I know you've already had your workshop with her where she does have some capital improvement projects for things like the pool.
So I think one thing we'd probably want to be getting some direction on regarding the pool facilities. We're preparing a major capital improvement project for an aquatic center so that we can accommodate the schools for swimming. We discussed at that CIP that there was interest in the children's play area, all of those implements, and looking at user fees as well. So each facility would need to stand on its own, but we would look during the master planning of the actual site. There would be implementation of the driveways, connectivity, bicycle pedestrian pathways between. So that's where we'd be looking at continuing that use together. So I think from the gathering of what we got from Weston Sampson, the actual recreation facility itself didn't necessarily lead towards a demolition, but there could be additional uses that you want to add on. The old rec center is part of that facility as well, has a separate roof line, so that could be looked at separately further down the line.
And
as
increase and improve the audio?
So that would be in the recreation center as part of the technology upgrade. Some of the things we've talked about is if it needs to be used as a meeting space, the audio is very challenging there. Sound is very challenging there. And so those were things, and also Wi-Fi has been an issue in the past. During the storm, we had a Starlink because we weren't able to utilize the Wi-Fi there. So there are technology upgrades. There's also security upgrades that we're working through right now as far as cameras and security improvements to the building that need to be made as well.
And we plan to, once we get that from the security assessment, if we go out to bid for a full renovation, these are items that we would build into the scope for the renovation. That would include things like security, to IT needs. When we did these assessments, we had our IT consultant on board as well with the engineers to assess the facilities for needed improvements for information technology.
Great. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Jim?
Question on the old library. First of all, in terms of the functions that have been identified, what percentage of the current square footage is required to meet those?
That's a great question, and that's something that we're working together with. The first thing that we need to happen is what we're doing with meeting with the sheriff's office to see what needs that they will have to go into that facility. Once we get those, the plan will be to work with a local architect that has put together like the Lee County Emergency Operations Center previously, so that they can give us some guidance on building that scope. The question that we need answered by the council is, are you tearing this down and building it back? And if you look at the differential in cost here on this graph that we've given you, we tried to do anything that was 20% or below as a potential tear down, whether it's a build back or not. That was kind of the recommendation that we were leaning towards, but we wanted to hear from council.
Yeah, okay. Now, the space required by Lee County Sheriff's Office, is this on our dime or their dime?
That's a great question. So I think that's something the sheriff's office would need to tell us if they're going to be able to assist us with funding for the facility or not.
Okay.
More on that later.
That's it.
So I think one of the things that was important to point out that Laura said is what we've talked about is the fact that it is has had previous flooding issues. It's not to flood code. So if we're looking at a long-term use of the facility, it may be beneficial to look at a rebuild because of that issue, and then we could rebuild at the appropriate.
I'm not an architect, but when I look at it, it's aesthetically not good. And I guess if we require 50% of the space, I mean, with a smaller footprint, we can build it to meet our needs if that's what makes sense. And we also quite honestly have the options, if we have less than 50% of the space required, can we go out and lease the space somewhere else and run from there? So,
I don't think the, oh, sorry.
So the facility, I would have a tough time putting a lot of money into that, because it's not great.
Nigel?
Yeah, just a couple comments. One is, recognizing the fact that currently the Sheriff's Department leases space in Estero for the officers that service Bonita Springs, so that would be a cost savings to them. One of the questions that I've got is, who are we currently speaking to at the Sheriff's Department about a project this size? I would assume it's not a district commander decision, it's gonna be a administrative decision. And at that point, how far along are we with those discussions? Do they know what the cost savings would be, or what the lateral cost would be in moving from a facility that is on site, where we're paying for? And then my understanding from previous discussions, I may be wrong, that we would utilize less than 25% of the space for our building or our code enforcement staff. Is that correct or incorrect?
We're going to be working with, I think before we can get to that, we need to talk about the sheriff's office, what they need, what's going to go in there. We're going to have Tony and his team involved in those meetings to meet with the architects to discuss that. Once council tells us, yes, we want to tear this down and build back, that helps us to be able to start moving forward on that project. If that is the case, that would help quite a bit if you would vote that. Not right now, obviously, but when you could. That would get us some answers to move forward with. I will say having staff currently in there as things are starting to fail is difficult. We are patching things. We're doing temporary repairs as quickly as we can for them, but it's not an ideal building to have staff in there for long term.
My last question is time to refurbish a structure that really is, we shouldn't be using it. If we didn't have to, we wouldn't. What's the difference in time from tearing down and rebuilding to rehabbing it to what we need, and keeping in mind the fact that if we rehab that building, we'll be at it again in 4 or 5 years, and 4 or 5 years after that. Whereas if we build new, we're in pretty good shape for 15 or 20 years, and it's elevated.
I agree.
Jesse?
I agree with where you're going with that. I think it just makes more sense to do new, because it's gonna, and even from a cost perspective, I think it's just probably a better way to go for us. That said, as far as the split goes, we will definitely figure that out 100%. But let's, just a little history lesson for everybody listening. This has been a discussion for about 10 years. This building was going to be, everything from a senior center to all kinds of different things. So this is something we've been trying to land for quite some time, and the sheriff all the way down has been involved at different times into this discussion. And the idea was a couple-fold. Number one, it gives us a better safe space because we have the middle school, we have the rec center, we have the swimming pool, we have the tennis courts, and we have the YMCA after-school program all directly right there. And having a substation right there, as opposed to the one that's not even functional on Old 41, gives them a better place to go. It gets them off Coconut Road, gets them back in the city, but makes those places that are easy soft spots for predators now a very dangerous spot for predators, making the community and the children safer. So this is not something that this is not something haphazardly thought about or put together. We'll definitely make the cost work, but it will be this isn't like, there's a lot of buildings like the heaviest paperweight in America, right? There's a lot of buildings like that around the city where we could say it's not worth it. This area for this project, it will be worth it. So I just wanted to plug that, and I agree with you on building new. That's it.
And I'm going to echo that. And it also, if we rebuild it, we could take into account that often during severe hurricanes, our staff works around the clock, and maybe we could put in like extra showers in private areas where people could honestly have safety and just some like 2 hours of rest, because that's all you guys take when you work around the clock, and along with the sheriffs. I mean, so there could be an accommodation if we rebuild. That is, we rebuild smartly and we grow and we build to sustain what we want to say in a safe place for our staff to congregate and then make decisions and go back out on the roads, because that's what you guys do. Thank you.
Arlene?
I just wanted to remind council, one of the things we talked about previously is that this has been historically a distribution center for the community. We know that we've handed out tarps here, water. We've partnered with FEMA as well as the National Guard and other law enforcement agencies to utilize the space. So I think one thing we would be looking for is at staff level, was there any funding opportunities outside, grant funds as well as FEMA funds, DEP, because the community is used to coming here previous to us even being a city. This has been a distribution center, and even post-hurricane, sometimes folks historically do go there looking for resources. So we want to make sure whatever we're planning, we're accounting for that, and then utilizing that to see if there's outside funding as well, if that's part of the intended use, especially with public safety and code enforcement. And as said, yes, correct, is code enforcement is typically the first ones with public works back out on the road immediately as post-storm, as it's safe to travel. So all those resources would try to be there and coordinated through that.
Chris, anything?
Yeah, I've never thought that the repair renovation of the old library was ever going to be a good idea. I mean, one of the things that we spend a lot of time talking about resiliency, and if we take a look at what we need to become a more resilient community, I think that building to house the sheriff's substation, to house code enforcement, to meet the needs that arise when we have a disaster. And let's hope we don't have another Ian or Irma or whatever, but the Gulf is already warming up. I think we need to design something and build something that meets what we want to have in terms of resiliency and the technology that's going to be coming down the line over the next 3, 5, 10 years. Every time I've gotten into these kinds of projects, the stuff that surprises you that needs to be fixed, whether it be electrical, whether it be plumbing, whether it be getting rid of asbestos, it's a never-ending project of just trying to deal with all the surprises that come up, much less trying to build the building back to where it fits the needs of the 21st century. And so I think, from my perspective, we need to sort of like take it away, build what we need, build it the way we want it, build it to meet the needs of our future.
That reminds me of when we did City Hall, and then
Yeah,
we found the
exactly.
mold. Like we did it. We're like, all right, let's do this. And then they called us in, and they're like, yeah, look at this wall.
And then look at the
Like,
windows.
oh
and
no.
But lastly, I don't know. But if we do a separate kind of construction for where distribution could happen, could we do some opportunity for businesses to be funding? So, that the distribution center, grateful for, and so, but it's separate, and we can use it for maybe vehicles. I don't know how big we have to build that particular area, but private funding, and see if there are some businesses that wouldn't mind their name associated with handing out tarps and so forth.
Jamie, any comments?
Just coming in, and I have to agree that building the new library would be the better option.
And I agree. I mean, the county looked at it to, renovate or replace, and they ultimately decided, even as a library, it wasn't worth saving. So I mean, I don't know why we would try to shoehorn 3 different things into an old library that's not even good as a library anymore, so.
Right. And maybe it can be hurricane shelter certified, I guess, and maybe we can stick a little tower up there. And there's
Yeah,
all kinds of stuff.
a new building, yeah.
That's good.
Well, just the new construction codes, it's gonna be a better building.
Yeah,
Yes.
100%.
Right?
Moving on.
Anything else?
Nope, that's all.
I do have one other question. We, at the strategic priorities meeting, addressed the proverbial good bread, Dixie Moon, and as that's another capital project. It was raised during the Historic Preservation Board meeting that I attended last week, and they were curious as to the direction. And we had talked about addressing that at a future date. And I guess my question, is this the appropriate future date to discuss that, or is this a separate discussion?
I say separate discussion.
I say let's do it.
Let's do it.
We've kicked it around long enough. I don't think it's going to be as controversial as we might think.
Okay. So you want to lead us off, Jim?
The reason I raised that, Laura, is just the fact this was on our kick out from the strategic priorities meeting. We said we either do a workshop or we address it as agenda item in a council meeting. And we're now talking about facilities, and we're talking about a $500,000 budget in our CIP plan for what are we going to do with it? And right now, the Historic Preservation Board is saying that, that they want to do a lot with it. So I defer to the history of this council in terms of the discussion and what needs to go from here.
In my opinion, it's time to take it down. I think it's time. I think and I loved it, and I was an advocate for the initial saving of the building, because as people may or may not know, the historical relevance to the building is it used to be the only gas station between Tampa and Miami. So the problem with that is it lost its historic designation the minute we picked it up and moved it. So it's not historic anymore. So now it just kind of sits here, and nostalgia, I suppose, lets us not want to take it down, but where it's at, it's not near its highest best use. It's nothing right now. It's a shell of a building that is no longer historic. We have a decent amount of money set aside for it. The building goes away for probably pretty cheap, and then we can recover some of that money. And I just think it's sometimes uncomfortable, but we rip off the Band-Aid.
I would agree. I mean, maybe we could save the front and do like a picture place where kids could put their heads in the window, like they do at the Wonder Gardens, the turtles. But otherwise, just get rid of it. And it's in the most awkward of positions. It doesn't do it justice where it is, and it never did it justice anyway. I mean, it wasn't the original. So I would agree with Jesse. So we'll, I guess, bring it up at a council meeting.
Nigel?
Well, I don't want to be left out on this. I'd like still the actual historical significance of what's left is minimal. The appearance of it, I think it detracts from the environment that it's in. Finally, I think we're going to get about as much pushback on this or less than we did on the school, which actually isn't ours. So, the bottom line is, I know there's going to be a couple dozen people that'll be upset about it. I don't think the other 58,000 citizens in our community will be upset about us not spending any more money on that building.
Yes.
That's my opinion.
Jim, you said they had ideas for it. Did they mention any of those ideas?
It was just throwing stuff against the wall, and the variety thing. You've heard the discussion, Mr. Mayor, and it's. I think the point is that we had a line item for $500,000 for the building, and they asked me as to what the direction was, and I basically told them out of our strategic priorities, this would be discussed in another forum because it was of note as to what we want to do with it. Clearly, there is a passion for it, and quite honestly, if we're not interested in the refurbishment of that, can we make it available to the Historic Society to put in their back lot to augment their current facilities. I mean, versus just a tear down. But I just, from my end, I got my tour. There was a lot of money to go in there. I questioned the history, how it ties in with what we have going down within the park area there. That's hence.
Counter question. Would they, are they moving it and are they paying for it?
Well, from my end, it's.
And where are they
If
gonna
that-
put it?
If they're gonna move it, they're gonna pay for it, fine. But if they want us to move it and pay for it, we've already moved it and paid for it once.
Exactly. And I would be of the same opinion, Jesse, is from my end is that if it's truly something that has relevance, that I think that there should find the funding for that, to do that. There's a lot of money that's going to that, and I just have question, and hence I bring it today.
I mean, somebody should go back to them, maybe it's you.
I guess it's
and
me.
ask 'em. And if you guys wanna move it and pay for it, sure, but if not,
But they just built a new tiki hut in the back, so where are they gonna put it?
We don't care.
We don't, I mean,
But I mean, they have to address
But our
that.
the point is that based upon this discussion, once finalized out of this workshop, is that our interest is in no further renovations to the building, and consideration by the council to demolish is there. But if there is an action on their part that they would like to move it to another location at their own expense,
within the next 60 days.
well,
No, seriously, let's put a number on.
Or
Here's the
even
deal.
part of it.
Here's the problem, because it will live in lore, and it can be done. It can turn to years of, oh no, we're putting money in on this, and then we'll never move it.
Right.
So we are currently in a workshop, so this is just for discussion purposes. If there was some direction that the council would like to provide to Councilmember Fitzpatrick, for him to bring back to a board, it'd be best to do that during the city council meeting,
do that in member.
where there's full disclosure that is proper direction. Right now, you're in a workshop, so wouldn't be a finalized action for you to say that was the answer. So bring it up in the
again during
comments.
member comments then.
And then any future movement of that building or demolition or any other such would require a contract. So that would have to come back to the city council as well. So that will be a decision whether you would want, a green sheet for the discussion and direction to staff to bring back any such proposals in the future.
Well, we've got an hour and a half to think about that, so I think we can come with a direction out of tonight's council meeting. So I'll be more than happy to do what the council says.
All right, Chris?
Yeah, I think what we all want is a downtown area that is reflective of what we want to showcase people in terms of our businesses, our restaurants, and so forth. That building doesn't serve that purpose. And I think it's part of the, it sets in sort of the middle of what we're, that I know that Arlene's working with DPZ in terms of coming up with ideas as to what we can do with the whole Lyles Plaza, how we can better utilize the Lyles Plaza and that area around the Lyles Plaza. So I think it's got to go, and I'll probably get shot for saying this, but I think the same sort of question is relevant to the old restaurant at the Wonder Gardens. I go to every Wonder Gardens board meeting, and I have yet, Nicole's not here, unfortunately, but I have yet to hear them say that they have a great desire to do anything with that old restaurant. And I think it's a fair question. It's our property. I think it's a fair question to raise that issue again, because if there's anything that really is a sore thumb to when you go to the Wonder Gardens, it's that building. So I don't want to get off track. If I can get rid of the good bread building today, I'll settle for that. But I'd also like that.
Hey, I think you're right. You're right. Think about this. We just signed, we're 1 year into a 9-year contract. What better time to have this discussion?
Maybe when we have heavy equipment downtown, we can cut a deal where Baron Collier, through their contractors, would be glad to participate in helping out the removal or move of the.
Can we put a BOGO green sheet together to knock them both down, or do we have to do them separate? I'm asking.
Come on,
I'm being
let's do
serious.
together.
Either way, but do we need to do that as official motion during the meeting?
I think step one is that you're going to give some direction during the meeting to the liaison to the historic board so he can properly advise them, and then we can place an agenda item under the direction of whichever council member reaches out independently that would like that to be a discussion item for a future meeting, that there would be notice then that anyone interested, it would be on the agenda so they would know it's on the agenda for discussion.
Nigel?
I have full faith and confidence in Councilman Fitzpatrick's eloquence and abilities to communicate our desires there. But I'd also ask Chris to go to the Winter Guards Board at the next meeting and see what their interest would be and what they, now that we have a new board that seems to be communicating well, what they'd like to do. I don't think this has to be a conflict early.
No, there is not, if you take a look at what the plans are for the Winter Gardens, because they've got this, they laid it out for us, there's not a thing that's mentioned about the old restaurant.
So, and then my last
Not on
comment
my
is,
priority.
the building is in my district. I get more negative comments about that. Why does the city have a storage building next to the Lyles Hotel? It's ugly. Why do you allow it? And, having to explain that, it's time for it to be moved.
I would like to say, when we worked on the contract, we specifically left it out of the contract because we didn't want them to have the ability to tell us no. So we did that on purpose. So now if we want to do it, we can do it. There's nothing that anybody can do about it.
Okay.
Are we done with this workshop so we can take a
I
break before the
think
meeting?
we've given direction.
No, I want to be clear.
No, yeah,
Discussion.
there's no direction.
No
The
direction,
will be
it's
in-
been discussion.
We've given direction as to what the discussion's gonna be.
Very fruitful discussion, I might add.
All right, let's end this work.
Public comment?
No. Okay.
Several members of the public.
All right, do we have public comment on the workshop? Seeing none, motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All right,